N'Keal Harry trade destinations are made possible by Magic Spoon. Healthy cereal that tastes way too good to be true. Get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. A clickable link, by the way, will be in the comments section and in the description. Now, if you hadn't heard previously, N'Keal Harry has made it very clear through his agent, he's done in New England. The former first-round pick who, if we're being honest and objective, has been a bust for the Patriots. He no longer wants to be a member of the organization, and he is due about $3.3 million over the next 2 years. That's not bad from a contract perspective, but there's not going to be a massive demand for N'Keal Harry. I think there will be some, but his trade value, simply put, is not very high. In 2 years, as a first-round pick, Harry pulled in 45 catches, less than 10 yards per catch, 4 total touchdowns. This is the type of production you would expect through like 12 games of a first-round pick, even if they weren't playing great. Not over the first 2 years of their NFL career. And Harry made a big deal about, or at least his agent did when he requested the trade, that, he wants more opportunity. Harry has been on a bad receiving core in the NFL. The Patriots have not had good receivers. N'Keal Harry, as the first-round pick, was supposed to be the guy who made that receiving core better. The Patriots this offseason brought in Nelson Aguilar. They brought in Kendrick Bourne. Jacoby Myers has been a nice little surprise there. But it's not like N'Keal Harry's getting beat out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving core. He's getting beat out by okay undrafted players. So I don't think it's a lack of opportunity thing for N'Keal Harry. I think it has very much been he just hasn't been good in the NFL. Now, some more background here. The Patriots reportedly shopped Harry before and around the NFL draft. They did not find a trade that they liked. And whether that was because there wasn't really an offer, period, or because they weren't getting the proper draft pick compensation back in exchange, they did not trade Harry. Now that Harry's made his public demand of being traded, his value is frankly down even a little bit lower. I think you're talking maybe a day 3 pick in exchange, if you're late day 3 pick, if you're going to go get Harry. Maybe a 5th at best, I think, if the Patriots are lucky. He was a former first-round pick, but he has just not been good in the NFL. So make your predictions for me right now in the comments section. What team, if any, do you think N'Keal Harry will be traded to? Get your votes in the comments section for me right now. The Washington football team has been one of the teams publicly connected to N'Keal Harry, although this did come before the NFL draft. Now, GM Martin Mayhew allegedly had some interest as part of the 49ers organization before the 2019 NFL draft, and had this N'Keal Harry trade demand gone down before the NFL draft, I think Washington would have been a stronger contender. Because here's what ESPN's John Keim wrote in March. I did edit this for brevity because it was kind of long and rambly, but here's the gist of it. Washington's quest to add more offensive talent could include New England wide receiver N'Keal Harry. The team is monitoring his situation according to multiple sources. Washington football team GM Martin Mayhew was in San Francisco when the 49ers showed interest in Harry before the 2019 NFL draft. And this is some of the stuff that I think is probably less relevant right now, but I wanted to include for the Patriots' mindset back then. At least 3 other teams could be interested. One source said it's hard to imagine New England settling for anything less than a 4th. At this point, it's hard to imagine New England getting a 4th-round pick for N'Keal Harry. And I think specifically for Washington, the wide receiver need isn't really there. I think this receiving core is pretty solid. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. They drafted Diami Brown in the 3rd round. He's going to be a key cog there. They also drafted Dax Milne out of BYU. They've got other receivers. Adam Humphries, Cam Sims, Kelvin Harmon, Steven Sims, Antonio Gandy Golden, and more. So here's my question for you Washington football team fans out there. Does the team need N'Keal Harry? I lean towards no, but I do want to hear from you guys here. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. Does the Washington football team actually need N'Keal Harry right now? Get your votes in. Y for yes or N for no. As mentioned, NFL Daily presented and made possible today by Magic Spoon. $5 off your first order of cereal that tastes way too good to be true at magicspoon.com/chat. This cereal, very high in protein, 13 grams or 14 if you eat the peanut butter one, like yours truly. It's also low in carbs, just 4 net grams of carbs per bowl, and it tastes like the stuff we grew up with, yet it's not going to rot your teeth, and it's not going to be terrible for you. It's actually quite healthy. So go get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. That URL right there, bottom of your screen. I will also have a clickable link for you guys in the comment section and in the description so you guys can just go get your order right now. The New Orleans Saints, could they be a trade destination for N'Keal Harry? I believe the Saints are rather thin at wide receiver, admitting that, of course, Alvin Kamara gets a lot of catches. They're banking heavily right now on Traquan Smith, and I think that's fine if you want to hope he can be wide receiver too. But I want to have better options than what the Saints have right now at wide receiver 3 and beyond. I think Harry would be a pretty solid buy low option for this team. I think he could at a minimum compete with the likes of Marquez Callaway and Deontay Harris and Juwan Johnson and elite name Lil Jordan Humphrey. Look at what these guys did last season. 2 of them caught 20 passes. That was Marquez Callaway, 21 for 213. Deontay Harris, who has special teams value too, 20 for 186 and a score. Juwan Johnson and Lil Jordan Humphrey combined for 7 catches last year. So the depth, I don't think, is particularly great for the Saints. So why not gamble on N'Keal Harry for what I think will end up being a late day 3 pick? Speaking of that, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What draft pick would you be willing to give up for N'Keal Harry? Is it a 4th? That seems a bit rich for me. Is it a 5th, 6th? Do you not want him at all? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. The Atlanta Falcons are next up here as on our N'Keal Harry trade destinations. This makes a lot of logical sense to me. They are hurting at wide receiver after the Julio Jones trade. Now, yes, I fully expect the Falcons will use a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think they will very heavily rotate in the likes of Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts and really use probably 12 personnel more than most teams in the NFL. But I don't like what this team has right now at wide receiver. They have a good receiver 1 in Calvin Ridley. I'm hyped about Russell Gage as a wide receiver 2, but the depth of Olamide Zaccheaus, Frank Darby, Tajay Sharp. I'll throw Cordero Patterson at receiver. He's probably going to be a running back for this team. Antonio Nunn, Greg Dortch. Like, there might be an option where, at minimum, I'd say N'Keal Harry ends up making this team. He would be on the roster, right? At worst, as a wide receiver 4, don't you think? There are 2 Arizona State receivers if the Falcons were to go get N'Keal Harry. The 1st-round pick in Harry and the 6th-round pick, the day 3 guy, in Frank Darby. Who would you rather have if you were the Falcons? Type NH for N'Keal Harry, FD for Frank Darby. I lean towards N'Keal Harry, but let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I think Harry could even be wide receiver 3 for this team. I don't mind Olamide Zaccheaus. He's a decent slot, very small, 5'8", 193. But I wonder if Harry still brings more upside than what the Falcons have right now in Zaccheaus. So for Atlanta, from a need perspective, I think they are one of the most logical destinations for N'Keal Harry. At Chat Sports, we keep you guys updated with what's going on around the NFL. The news, the rumors, the topics, like the N'Keal Harry trade destinations video you're watching right now. So if you want more NFL videos and NBA stuff too, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. How about a return home for N'Keal Harry? Could the Arizona Cardinals be a potential destination for the former Arizona State receiver? The Cardinals, depth-wise, roster-wise, are in pretty good shape at wide receiver. I don't think that's a major problem for them right now. But maybe they could even work out as you'll see in a second, a player-for-player swap. And maybe a return home to an extent for N'Keal Harry is exactly what he needs right now. Arizona does not need a wide receiver. They've got DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green if he's back and healthy. I like Rondale Moore a lot. Christian Kirk's still there. And they got decent depth in Andy Isabella and Keyshawn Johnson. Isabella and Harry, were both taken in the same NFL draft. And to be upfront and honest, Isabella has been a pretty big disappointment. Probably not as big of a N'Keal Harry disappointment given where they were drafted, but Isabella, out of UMass, by the way, hasn't fared very well. He's been a disappointment. So how about this? What if we swapped disappointing receivers? The Cardinals get to bring home N'Keal Harry. Andy Isabella from UMass goes closer to home to the Patriots. I think it's fun. Who says no? Do the Patriots say no? Do the Cardinals say no? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. If you think the Patriots say no, type in P. If you think the Cardinals say no, type in C. If you think I'm crazy, then just, type in crazy. That's fine too. All right, the Detroit Lions, they're the second to last team, here on our Harry trade destinations list. I would argue that the Lions have one of, if not the outright worst, wide receiver rooms in the NFL. I think Harry would be able to compete for a role right away. I'll also make note that the former Patriots front office head coach guys are out in Detroit. But if I'm the Lions, I'd at least explore this potential move here. Because the Lions have some passable players, I guess, on this depth chart, but it's not great. Terrell Williams, Rashad Perryman, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a draft pick out of USC, Quintez Cephas, Geronimo Allison. Why not bring in N'Keal Harry and let him compete? I know the Lions will run the football heavily, but this receiving core inspires fear in zero defensive backs around the NFL. Yeah, they got some vertical threats, a slot guy, but why not give Harry a shot? He's better than Sage Surratt, so I'd say bring him in. Trade a 6th-round pick. You got plenty if you're the Lions. Now, the answer to this question might be Detroit. But what do you guys think? Who has the worst wide receiver core in the entire NFL? Is it the Lions, the Patriots, somebody else altogether? Share your thoughts for me in the comments. The Houston Texans have been linked to N'Keal Harry, but are they a perfect trade destination for him? The Texans, it has to be worth mentioning, have an obscene number, as we'll break them down one by one in a little bit, of former Patriots on the roster. And that ties out to Nick Caserio being the new GM, or de facto GM, whatever you want to call it, in Houston. Now, the Texans will get into deep at wide receiver depth, but I also wonder if Caserio even wanted to draft N'Keal Harry. Allegedly, the leaks are that there was some disagreement in terms of the Patriots front office whether or not to take N'Keal Harry, and clearly that was a bad decision by New England. So if Caserio wanted Harry, I could see him making a move, because the Texans have added 14 former Patriots to have 14 on their roster. Now, Terrence Brooks, the safety, Rex Burkhead, the running back, Marcus Cannon was one of the bigger acquisitions this offseason. Brandon Cooks has been there for a while, but I'm still going to count it. Keon Croston's a cornerback. Yelda Froholt, yes, Yelda, spelled really weird. I get it. It's spelled correctly though. Weird name. Offensive lineman. Kamu Gruger-Hill's a linebacker. They traded for Ryan Izzo, the tight end. Added Dante Moncrief, have A.J. Moore. And a lot of guys who aren't going to end up making the roster. I get that. Tight end Paul Quisenberry. He's not going to make the team. Derek Rivers is probably a long shot. Offensive lineman Jordan Steckler, Cole Toner, long shots. But when 15% of your roster come from one former team, that's pretty unusual. But the reason why I doubt the Texans go this route, they don't need receivers. Yeah, they could maybe use a better number 2 or number 3, but Brandon Cooks is making this team. Randall Cobb's a fun slot guy. Nico Collins was drafted out of Michigan, and they've got guys who have spent time in the NFL. Chris Conley, Isaiah Coulter, Dante Moncrief, Kiki Cutie, Andre Roberts, Alex Harrison, Thawan Taylor, and Chris Moore have all played NFL games. They're 11 deep at receiver. The Houston Texans have the best roster to build if you're looking for players, ranked 44th-ish to 75th. They're so deep there, it's the top-end guys that aren't particularly great. Now, maybe if you could trade Kiki Cutie as part of a deal, that might start to make a little bit more sense for the Texans, but I think they'd rather gamble on Cutie. So, worth mentioning, I would be surprised, though, if Houston went out and added Kiki Cutie. Or added N'Keal Harry, excuse me. Let's run them through the top destinations for N'Keal Harry. The Washington football team publicly linked to Harry before the draft, but they added some players I'd be a bit surprised if that's the route they went right now. The New Orleans Saints, I think, make a lot of sense. They need more receiver help. Their depth is not great behind Michael Thomas, even if you believe in Traquan Smith. If I were the Saints, trying to win games right now, and you want a contested catch guy, Harry makes some sense. The Atlanta Falcons might be the most logical destination after trading away Julio Jones. They're fine with Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage at receiver 1 and 2. It's the depth, or lack thereof, that makes them a logical fit. The Arizona Cardinals, they're next up here. How about a swap? Andy Isabella for N'Keal Harry. Straight up, Isabella goes closer to his home where he went to UMass, and then N'Keal Harry goes closer to Arizona State. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I thought it was a fun idea. All right, the Detroit Lions, again, kind of like the Falcons to an extent and the Patriots themselves, not good receiving core. Why not give them a shot? Now, is N'Keal Harry the type of knee biter that Dan Campbell wants? Maybe, probably not, but if I'm the Lions, why not pick up the phone and call and see what the interest is, or at least what the ask price, which I think is going to be a late day 3 pick. And then there's the Houston Texans. They were linked to Harry because of so many former Patriots already being on their roster, but I don't think they need a receiver. They're way too deep already at like wide receiver 4 or 3.5 through 6. They got like 7 guys to potentially fill that particular role. There were some other teams I briefly considered. The 49ers, because of they had some pre-draft interest, but honestly, I think Debo and Ayuk are who they're going to devote their time to. The Green Bay Packers are always mentioned for receivers, but they drafted somebody this year, so maybe they're in the clear there. The Minnesota Vikings, maybe if they want a new wide receiver 3, it's an option. The Chiefs, maybe. I saw them linked in some articles. I think they're going to pass, but they're a potential dark horse there. And then I almost did a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside trade straight up for N'Keal Harry, but honestly, I think the Patriots would still say no to that one.